Scott, if we can tick off some selection, Daniel Wells, are we expecting to see him back?
Possibility, but probably unlikely at this stage. The quad is fine. The corky recovered from pretty quickly, but we probably thought that we'd get to a stage where if we had to unload him due to another injury or for whatever reason, that his Achilles might get a little bit sore again. And his Achilles is just not quite perfect. So I think you can all imagine how cautious we're going to be with that. So it's possible he might play, but if he doesn't do enough on the track today, and he's got some tests to pass before we even risk him today. So unless he's absolutely perfect, I mean, it'd probably be the match committee's call just to leave him out for another week, maybe two. But I've been caught up giving predictions on this in the past. But what I can say is that we're really optimistic, and we're being potentially overly cautious and probably frustrating Wellesley a little bit because he's missed so much footy. But we're determined not to turn this into something that could be more serious. So until he's absolutely perfect, we won't roll him out. So that probably rules him out for this week.
Ferretto?
Yeah, straight back in. Yeah.
Mason Woods.
Yeah, Mason's still got to pass some tests. He recovered incredibly from what looked like a pretty serious knock. Went to the VFL the next day, did his running on Monday, has consulted all the experts, and the experts have suggested to us that even though the incident can look pretty severe, that sometimes you can recover really quickly. So we'll still be very cautious with him, but the signs so far are really good.
With the Blues missing personnel, do you look at dropping a big, or do you take that advantage in the air against them?
Well, I think we're a pretty tall side anyway. I think we probably fielded one of the tallest sides in the history of the game last week, so not sure we'll do that again. But we certainly took the opportunity last week to have a look at some of our talls and play a slightly different structure, because the reality is you don't know until you do it. So it was a bit of a risk. We made it probably harder for our players to get it done, but we took the opportunity to have a look at all our talls all at once, and they still kicked goals and still played reasonably well. So I don't know if it'll be a situation of trying to exploit Carlton, more just trying to work out what the best mix for us is.
Brad, given the last couple of years you've sort of stormed back into the 8 and made prelims from outside the 4, how big a springboard can 8-0 be to start off the year?
Well, it's certainly better than the situation we've been in the last couple of years, but I mean the challenges to come are still really significant. We play some quality sides that are right up in contention at the moment at this stage of the year. So all it is a platform for us. We've got a lot of work to do. I still maintain we're not playing anywhere near our best footy, but the hallmark of good sides is that they can win when they're not playing their best. So, if we can, we're just trying to qualify in the best position we can, and we haven't even qualified yet. So, 12 wins is what we're looking at, because 12 wins generally gives you a finals berth, and then we'll reassess from there.
Is it a nice position being up top and looking down and being the hunted rather than the opposite way around?
It can be, but I mean we've had opposition come at us in different ways the last few weeks, and we've had to adapt to that. We've still got some really good opposition who will throw different things at us, but we certainly play our best footy when we're on the front foot, and potentially the last couple of weeks we've been on the back foot a little bit. So we've got to get back to our best footy, which is playing really aggressive, hunting the ball style of game, and if we can do that, then I'm pretty confident our best is around the corner.
Many would say, given the position you're in, you probably deserve flag favouritism, but you're not. Do you care?
No. I think that flag favouritism is it's comical, really. I mean, there were certain pundits out there that had Fremantle clearly winning the premiership at the start of the year, so you can be made to look pretty silly 8 weeks in, and equally you can be made to look pretty silly making mid-season predictions. So there's a lot of water to pass under the bridge. We see each week there's big news on the injury front. There's obviously the devastating news about Jared Roughhead. There are all sorts of things that are going to happen, so we're not into predictions.
Does that rock the club, the Roughhead news?
I think it's just rocked the football community. It's really disappointing, and we just wish him all the best. I mean, he's obviously a great of our game, and we just all we can do is, as a football community, is support him, and I think the footy community is pretty good at doing that.
Are you expecting Lockie Hansen and Sam Wright to be available this week, Brad?
Lockie Hansen won't be available. He thinks that he's going to do his best to get up, but he's still got lingering effects from the concussion. So we're still really disappointed about that. Unfortunately for Lockie, I doubt he'll train fully today, which will preclude him from selection, and until he's symptom-free, he won't even train. So I can't give a time frame on that. And Righty's got some tests to pass before he comes out and trains, and if he trains really strongly, he'll put his hand up, but we won't take any risks with him.
Nick Del Santo, Tom, was involved in a couple of winning streaks with the Saints to start the season. Do you speak to him about how they went about managing that?
Oh, he's volunteered some thoughts, but I mean we're just focused on the next opposition. Really, I know it sounds cliche, but it's not. I mean as soon as we start taking our eye off the ball and looking further ahead, then we take our eye off what's important, which is the here and now. Carlton are 4 wins, no losses from the last month of footy, so they present a great challenge for us. And we start looking ahead, then we'll take our eye off the ball. So we're really focused on that. I don't think that there's any risk of looking ahead or complacency because we're not playing that well. So that's the first thing that we've got to address.
What challenges do you face for the Blues under Brendan Bolton?
I think they're really well organised. I think that's been pretty well documented. But I know Matthew Cruiser went down, but there are not too many clubs that start with 3 number 1 draft picks plus Patrick Cripps in their midfield. So there's a bit of mythology in footy. One being that Carlton are really young and inexperienced and rebuilding. They're not young at all. They've got a lot of talent. They've recruited really well. They're really well coached. So when you put those things together, they're a pretty formidable opponent. And even when they lost the first 4 games of the year, they were still playing pretty good footy.
Magic's an interesting one. He showed some signs against the Bombers. Does he hold his spot?
Yeah, well, it's a decision we've got to make. But we played him to see how he'd work in with our other forwards and rucks, and to give us some flexibility. And because the reality is, if we didn't try it, we wouldn't know. So we've got more information at our disposal now, and now we've just got to work on the mix. And we'll continue to look at things throughout the year to give us various options. Whether he plays this week or not, I'm not sure yet. But what we did see was enough to suggest that he's going to be a feature for the rest of the year.
Did you hear Liam Matthews' comments at the game? He sort of said that given the class you guys have got in your tools, that playing Magic could be used as trade bait to see if you can get his value up at the end of the year. I mean, without asking that directly, do you see him as part of long-term plans given the class that you do have in tools? Yeah,
look, the list management committee get together all the time and talk about the short, medium, long term. I mean, we're not riding Peacher and Wade off just yet, but the reality is unless they're boomer-like, they're closer to the end than the beginning. So, our young key position players are going to be really important to us, and we value them all. I mean, we knew that we supported Majak through some really tough times, and we expect to support him through the rest of his football career. He's going to be a valuable player for us, and I think that's Lee's job as a commentator to talk about those sort of things, but my job as a coach is to support all of our players, and Majak's one of those.
Scotty, Aaron Black looks, Brad, as though he's really got back to his best in the VFL this year, or at least close to it. How encouraging has that been?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. He's looking really dangerous, working really hard. Took a long time to get over a shoulder reconstruction, but he's looking terrific at the moment. So one of the reasons for playing some tours last week was to get some more information at selection, and Blackie's posing more and more questions for us all the time. So we're in a good position with our tours that we can continue to pick the guys that are in form, and it's the match committee's job to make sure we get that selection mix right.
Scotty, what did your video review show of that second half, and how have you addressed it in the past couple of days?
Yeah, it probably wasn't as bad as it looked. We probably missed 8 gettable shots, which puts the margin out to about 16 goals and probably papers over a few cracks. So it's pretty easy to say that we just kicked inaccurately. I think we kicked at 22% in the second half. So getting the shots wasn't an issue, but we just had probably 8 or 10 really poor moments, and the guys are really disappointed with that, and we've addressed them, but they're not things that we think are systemic. They were just poor moments that we can fix pretty easily.
I see Jet on the track. How's he coming along?
Yeah, he's coming along really well. He's probably, what are we, coming into round 9? He's probably going to be 2 or 3 weeks away from getting back to playing. But what I'm focused on is just getting him back to training. So probably maybe 1-2 weeks away from joining in some serious training, and then we'll just progress him from there. But his recovery's been impressive.
The past 3 weeks have been pretty low scoring games compared to your first 5. Is that something North's doing, or just the opponents?
I think it's got to do with a combination of both. A little bit of the way we've wanted to set the game up in certain games, but a a lot from the way the opposition have played us too, and I think it's really important to note that the way the game's being played in 2016 has got a hell of a lot to do with what opposition coaches are doing. There's been a lot spoken about rule changes, but in my view they've got a very, very, very small percentage to do with the reason why footy's been as good as it's been. Coaches have really have decided that they want to try and attack, and sometimes you've got to try and combat that. So we'll have ebbs and flows, but I think it's a little bit short-sighted to say that rule changes have been responsible for all the great footy that's been played.